one day. Even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice.
Before God and all mankind, I pledge the love and loyalty of my heart, the wisdom and courage of my mind, the strength and vigor of my body. In service of my fellow citizens, I promise to stand up for justice, brotherhood, and peace, to work diligently and creatively, to think generously and honestly, so that Jamaica may, under God, increase in beauty, fellowship, and prosperity, and play her part in advancing the welfare of the whole human race. Wherever you're listening and watching from around the world and the Eastern Caribbean, this is Make We Talk on Roots 96.1 FM. Good morning, I am Jeffrey Tavares. Studio number 876-225-9478 or 876-782-8235. WhatsApp call only 876-782-8235. This morning I have with me, he's not on us yet, Wilfred Rattigan, attorney at law and former FBI agent. I also have with me Dr. Rupert Francis, head of the Jamaican Diaspora Crime Investigation Task Force. Mr. Herb A. Nelson Jr. rather. He is the chairman of the He's the chairman of the, just a moment please, my computer. Yeah, sorry about that. Chairman of the Crime Security Regional Committee of the Caribbean. Good morning, gentlemen. Welcome to Make We Talk.
Good morning, Jeffrey. Pleasure to be here again and to be able to speak with your listeners. Good morning, Doc.
Unmute your mic for me, Dr. Francis.
Unmute
your mic, please.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Jeffrey.
Morning.
Good morning, Herb. Good morning, listeners. It's the Jamaica Diaspora Crime Intervention and Prevention Task Force, my brother. Just want to clear crime intervention. But it's always good to be with you, to share with you this morning, especially because it's now Independence Week, so to speak. And man, it was a great start. Started with a church service on Sunday in Florida, South Florida. We are going to be having, a gala on the weekend. We are going to be having a motorcade and a street dance. So we are looking forward to celebrating independence in style. So for anybody we tried to wear our colors this morning. It didn't work too well. But anyway, I didn't want to put on a mask. And I also want to say that, for anybody who believes that we are not certified yardies, let them guess. We are more than yardies. We are what you can what's his name said again. My God, he was with Bob Marley. Anyway, go if you're a black man, you're an African, and Peter Tosh, right? That's correct. Yes. So it is, and we're just trying to emancipate ourselves as the Bob charge, right? Herb, yes, I hope we get it. Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. I hope everything is all right, Mr. Rattigan. Yeah.
Yes, indeed, my brother.
Apologies. That's okay. Let I start with our good attorney at law, Mr. Rattigan.
Yes, sir.
You could advise Donnelly's family from the moment she reported missing. How would you advise them?
Thanks for the question. Thanks for having me. Good morning to my fellow panelists and your listening audience, and your viewing audience as well. What I would have done from the very beginning was to advise the family to retain the services of an attorney and a group of investigators second. First, the attorney, because what you would need is, you need a liaison. You need someone between the family and the people conducting the investigation. And the reason for that is this: you don't want to have different family members contacting the investigators and have the investigators talking to different family members about the progress or lack thereof of the investigation, because that's only going to call for speculation and confusion, especially in this age of technology and social media, where you tell someone a story and after about 5 iterations of that story, it's a completely different story from what was originally told. So they would need to have someone who would be the point person, so to speak, that would liaise with the investigators and the prosecutors, and also would be in a position to encourage them to keep whatever information is shared with them confidential, because you cannot have a situation where the investigators are talking to the family or the mediator or the point person, and then have the family go out and then start talking, because that's only going to jeopardize the investigation. So that's a roundabout way of answering your question, which is, one, an attorney as a point person, and two, if you suspect that the investigators might be missing certain skill sets, then you could hire your own group of investigators to assist them.
Okay. Dr. Francis,
Mhm.
you as a Jamaican, and you head the crime investigation task force. Am I saying it correctly, sir?
Crime intervention and prevention.
Yes,
Intervention
intervention
and
task
prevention
force. Yes.
task force. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And it's very important that it says intervention and prevention, because what Brother Rattigan has just said is it basically intervention and prevention of an assault on the public, or vice versa on anybody. We would like to intervene before it happens and prevent it from happening. So that's why it's important. But anyway, your question was, what was your full question? Sorry.
Yes. You lead that task force in America.
Well, go ahead,
Well, for
sir.
Jamaicans, I should say, if
Yeah.
you should be invited to Jamaica to help with the family, in this case, how would you go about doing it? And would you accept it, sir?
First of all, I'm telling you that obviously the public agrees with what Mr. Rattigan, who's now become I would say, a star, for having said what he said. He's saying that his 11-year-old son, that in particular could have solved the issue. Because when you look at any jurisdiction, and I'm not putting down the police or what have you, that's not the issue. There were certain things that were available, that was, information, although there was no body or nothing at all, evidence that could be gathered, and so that would point in a certain direction. And the question that he has raised is, and the people obviously in Jamaica are now raising, is a fair process? Because one of the members of the involved, or two of the members that are involved, are in the police force. And other police have come out and said certain things, which of course are allegations. A person is innocent until proven guilty, but circumstantial evidence, a lot of circumstantial evidence is there. And there's also been a lot of things out there that is said, that the people have said, that perhaps the place was cleaned before the actual investigation began. Okay? And if you look at the timeline involved and you listen to the timeline, the people have a point. Now, why are we in the diaspora interested? We should be interested because, first of all, this person's a social media influencer, but for anybody, the 800 persons that have been missing so far and nobody knows where they are, and many of them have contributed to Jamaica. We're talking about teachers and what have you and so on. I remember a math teacher. That one is particularly egregious to me because, we need math teachers in Jamaica in particular. We need everybody, but certainly people of that caliber. And so we need to know that when somebody is dead or is missing, so to speak, we have a full investigation. Now, I know that the JCF is under pressure. I know that the JDF is on, but they can call for help. That's where because we have family there. We have friends there. We have colleagues there. And just to clear up one thing I always say, a lot of people think that we are anti-Jamaican. Absolutely not. When you read the pledge, I had heard the pledge read, and I will just finish at this one. When I heard the pledge read by a pastor on Sunday, and every aspect of the pledge is so clear. We are there for the interest of the people, to serve, the people and our people, and to make sure we advance the welfare of the entire and the whole human race, right? So we have to do what we have to do in order to keep peace in our land and to make sure that Jamaica can advance under God. So that's my charge, and I will never, ever give that up. So that's my point, sir, why we must do what we have to do in the diaspora. Certainly.
Mr. Nelson, same question for you, sir.
Could you repeat the question for me, Jeffrey? I was doing battle with my pug here, trying to get him to stop all the noise.
If you should come to Jamaica, if the family should reach out to you and ask you to come down to Jamaica to assist with the investigation for them, how would you go about doing it? And would you answer yes or no?
I clearly would, in conjunction with a qualified attorney, answer yes. The bottom line is you need to be able to, if you're monitoring an investigation, you're not second guessing the police, but you're looking at the actions of the police. And not only are you looking at the actions of police, you're looking at the quality of the evidence being collected. For instance, being an intelligence person from the intelligence community, we usually pinpoint people's movements. We look at if they have a registered cell phone. We look at the pings on the cell phone towers to know what their movement was. We would want to establish a clear timeline, not just the day of that she went missing, but we want to look at previous movements and compare it to movements after she actually goes missing. All right. In that way, you can look at deviation. We want to get phone records, which we, here in the US, we can get access to quite easily.
But before you go down that road,
Okay.
Mr. Nelson, the question I want to ask next, based on the whole telephone record, let me say this. At 2 o'clock this afternoon, 2 o'clock Jamaica time, the Jamaica Constabulary Force will be having a press conference. Is it based on Donaldson? Well, information reaching me, yes, it is. And we're asking everyone to listen to that press conference. It's going to be on YouTube and so forth. Question for Mr. Rattigan. Based on the disappearance and information provided by the JCF, Mr. Rattigan, at their last press conference, how would you approach this investigation if you were called upon? Unmute your mic for me, please, sir.
Sorry about that. Just to follow up on Herb's point, he started to make some points about the types of investigation that will be conducted. Yeah. And I have a whole list of things here that if I were in charge of the things that I would go through. Number one is, and it's by no means of importance, I'm just telling you as they come to my mind, as I've just written them down. Blood work. First thing I would do, once she's missing, she's declared missing, and so we have to go in and to figure out what's going on, because we know the last place where she was. So that's where the first place you're going to start searching. So we would go in and we would start looking blood work, which is, it's simple. You just spray luminol in and you come in with a fluorescent light to see if there are any blood splatters, blood traces in the apartment. And by the way, I don't know the size of the apartment, if it's a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, but I suspect that based on the location, it's probably no more than a 2-bedroom, quite possibly a 1-bedroom apartment. So you're not talking about a very large area to search. You'd also look for DNA, tissue, for example. Telephone tracking, and Herb just mentioned that. You look at text messages, you could look at where the where the phones were pinging, the cell towers that they were pinging off to determine the location. There was also a report that neighbors heard a commotion in the apartment. So for sure, you would start interviewing neighbors, you would interview family, you would interview friends to find out the kind of relationship that these two individuals had. CCTV, Jamaica Eye, any kind of video tapes or cameras in the area. There's also mention of a truck driver and a missing settee or couch. He would be interviewed as well. I was also told that there was a fire in Riverton City the week after she died. I would be checking that out to make sure that, you know, a body wasn't set on fire in that area. I would also do the background for all of these people involved, because the background can tell you a lot. For example, people have raised the specter of criminality with the police officer because they said he was involved with a group in another part of the island, and as a result, he was moved because of the appearance of impropriety. I don't know how true that is, but I do know that he was moved. Social media postings. You can get a lot of information from people's posts. So it would be all of these, and once this would just be the basic, and this should drive the investigation. This should take you to whatever leads are extending from here. Maybe there are no leads to be derived from after you've done all of this work. Maybe it's conclusionary. Once you've done this, you know exactly who you're looking at. But at the very least, these are things that should have been done. And let me say should have been done. Let me just put out a word of caution here. I'm not saying that these things haven't been done, because we haven't been told specifically by the JCF. However, let me say that the JCF in their press conferences, they indicated that the forensics unit and the people who conduct telephone analysis and so on and so forth, that they were involved in the investigation. Now, that's a pretty good clue that some of the things that I just mentioned to you, that they're being done. If we believe what the JCF is saying, that they have these experts looking in these areas, then I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt at this point that these things have been done. But that remains to be seen at 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Yes. Dr. Francis? Your mic is still muted, sir.
Yes.
Yes. Do you have a follow-up on what Mr. Rattigan just said?
Well, you know, I didn't answer the question first. Yes, I would encourage a team from here, certainly at the behest of the family. I don't know why they have not so requested, because I think that social media agrees with us that we could add value. Certainly, if you have professionals interacting with the police, asking the right questions, then it could assist us, and certainly they may have to look twice at certain things. I mean, because nobody's perfect. So I think that it is important that, as Herb said, as Mr. Rattigan has said, there are things that we might be missing and they have no clue whatsoever. This is not about Donna Lee Donaldson alone. It's about the whole, as I'm saying. Yes, the primary focus now must be on that, because you have members of the force who have been implicated, at least one member so far. Why they have not implicated the other one, I do not know. There might have been scars, for example, because if there was a scuffle, and with whomever interacted with Donna Lee Donaldson, because, you know, she would not go quietly into the midnight. So therefore, these are things that they should have been looking at all this time, bite marks, anything like that. So, you know, what they're saying is absolutely true. And what I'm saying, I cannot wait to hear the press conference this evening as to what they're saying. Because if and the question also, pressure can be put on either party or all of the parties to say what they know, because they obviously know more than they know. If I saw an interview with the truck man, And he was as nervous as you could have it. His legs were shaking. I don't know if you saw that. He didn't show his face, but he didn't have to. His body language was there. He knows something more. And he ain't saying it. But the point I'm trying to make, I'm telling you, they're not infallible, they're not indestructible. They can give the evidence. The question is, how long will they hold out for? And they're hoping that this man will get bail and maybe, I don't know, fly the coop, whatever they want to call it. I would suggest that they do not, they hold on to him at the moment and hold on to the lady, his girlfriend.
Hold on, Dr. Francis, before you go any further, we got to be very careful with that. Because, with the lady, because we don't know, based on what is going on, we got to be very careful with the lady.
Why?
Because of information. No, hold on, Dr. Francis. Dr. Francis, hold a minute.
Okay.
Based on information that I am getting, that I cannot put out to the public.
Right.
We gotta be very, very careful with the issue of the police woman.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta be very careful.
All right, fine.
When we hear the press conference this evening, then we can go back on air and discuss everything. But information that I am getting,
okay,
and it's credible information, we have to be very careful what we say pertaining to that part of the case.
Okay, may I give you my version of what I have also gleaned as well? I'm just simply saying, I understand that she had gone to the apartment. That's all I'm saying, right? Gone to the apartment, and whether before or after, I'm not sure. But the fact is she had gone to the apartment. If that is the case, then we have to find out what went on. That's all I'm saying. I'm not making any allegations against anyone, not passing any judgment. But the fact of the matter is that you can't leave any stone unturned. That's my view when it pertains to an investigation. I hope you can agree with me on that.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Nelson.
Yes. In support of, let's say Mr. Rattigan is the lead and I'm supporting him, we would want to look for motive as well. In looking for motive, the collection at the crime scene would have been cell phones, computers, tablets, or any other communication device, to include throwaway phones if those can be located. And when you look at those, you can look at the history of phone calls, texts, and other items in communication to see if there's any prior planning. Okay, if it's a crime of passion, let's say, you know, that happens usually, impetuously, immediately. But if it's a carefully planned scenario, then you may have some research. You may even go on the computer and see research how to dispose of certain things. Because I don't know how well trained a constable is when it comes to evidence collection. I mean, usually detectives get the advanced training. So as a constable, I would be curious as to what type of training that he has had. And I'd be looking at training records as well. One of the things that can happen, if indeed he were moved, and it was because of other activities, I would want to further investigate that, since you have a CTOC team, which is the premier level team in the JCF. I'd want to do enhanced investigation of why he was moved and to see if there's any evidence where you could actually try and convict on just the minor charges. And then you have him sitting for a while in jail until you can finish with the other stuff. And if he has any kind of people involved in any other cases that he's involved with, I'll be looking at his cases and how the cases were handled, arrests and stuff like that. Because if you can find out who his colleagues are, that would be most helpful to him. And there's a reflection on them that improprieties might have been done in any case on their part, then you want to add pressure to them as well to come up with what was his mindset prior to, what was he saying about the missing person. All of these things you want to put together to look at motive and to build the case based on motive. Everything else that Mr. Rattigan has stated about the crime scene and the collection of evidence and to speaking to the neighbors are equally important. And you wouldn't just be addressing just the time there was a commotion. You want to find out if there were other commotions or other incidents that they noticed whenever she came around. And you would then know if there has been a buildup to that particular date when things occurred.
Herb, that was good, great analysis. I want to say also the pickup by the truckman. He said he didn't do it, from what I understand. When I heard the interview with him, he didn't come alone. It was he himself and someone else who picked up the couch. Okay, the couch. So the question is, both lifted up the couch. How heavy was the couch? Many things have to be, they have to investigate all of that. Who were the persons who were involved in picking up the couch? It was daylight, I understand, when the couch was picked up. Alrighty? So, inconsistent reports.
Dr. Francis, hold a minute for me, please. I do apologize. Just bear with me. It is 10:31, 11:31 in the United States. We're listening, watching from around the world and the Eastern Caribbean. We're talking about Donaldson with some esteemed gentlemen. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back here and make we talk. Like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you very much.
This nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed.
At MOJ Ministry of Justice, come access quality service to keep order within the nation. We put together good legislation. Legal aid to your pocket. A little is child diversion for you to need expertise. Victim service will help you cope with grief. Restorative justice, build back the peace. No matter where you come from, how we say justice for all Jamaicans. MOJ Ministry of Justice, come access quality service.
MOJ, taking justice to the people of Jamaica.
Hi, I'm Sharon.
Hi, I'm Marcia.
I'm Adrian. Join us this and every Wednesday morning for Extraordinary Abilities on Roots 96.1 FM. Join us for news, views, and interviews with extraordinary people. Extraordinary Abilities every Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on your extraordinary radio station, Roots 96.1 FM. It's gonna be fun, informative, and educational, but most of all, it will be extraordinary.
Yes, it's the Math Club Radio Show every Thursday on Roots FM 96.1.
The show will start 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Students, teachers, and parents will be on the show.
Well, no one should miss the show. They will give out prizes every week.
Prizes! Prizes! We love prizes!
It's the Math Club Radio Show every Thursday on Roots FM 96.1.
Do you need graphic design services? Or maybe you need branding for your business? How about multimedia production services? Contact Browns Media and Graphics at 876-877-1870. Browns Media and Graphics, developing your ideas, creating your style.
This nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slaves will be able to...
Welcome back to Make We Talk here on Roots 96.1 FM, the voice of the inner city, the voice of the voiceless. If you're watching on our YouTube channels, please subscribe to our YouTube channels, and please share this interview, this radio program. Please share. Dr. Francis, you're making a point before we went to the commercial break. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Terraris. I was just simply saying, endorsing what my colleagues had said. But most importantly, there's information out there, okay? And if we do it right, people are afraid to come forward. But I know some brave people are willing to do so, because they recognize that if we do not do something about this one, this is going to be carried on. And, we don't know until when. We have to make a stand. People have to make a stand. Let me say this to you. It is important for the image of Jamaica that we curb this crime monster, because Jamaica is everything to us, especially those of us everybody, both diaspora and Jamaica. And when I talk to people, you have mixed views, but the majority of persons are saying, look, there is an issue, we must deal with it. It can be dealt with. So I'm saying to you and to the world that our leaders must understand silence is golden, and we're not asking people to talk about a case that's being investigated. All we're saying, reassure the country. If you want to reignite the country, reassure it, right? And be responsible about what we're doing. I'm trying my best to be responsible. We are trying our best to be responsible here. And we want the people out there to keep on agitating in a good way, do not stop, because if we can get this momentum going, then we can we will be able to stop this wanton slaughter that is taking place. And that's my hope, and that's my prayer. So over to you, Mr. Tavares.
Mr. Tavares, may I just jump in and just say a few?
Go ahead, sir.
All right. One is my esteemed colleague, Dr. Francis, used the term "no stone unturned," and it's interesting that the PNP, in its statement regarding regarding Donnelly's disappearance, they put out the same thing. It's a wonderful phrase, but I kind of dislike it for this reason. Not because Dr. Francis said it or the PNP, but because a gentleman by the name of Carl Williams, former police commissioner, said it. And he said it and it became a joke, because every time a crime was committed, he would say, we leave no stones unturned. And the crimes were never solved. Instead of saying that, him should just turn over the stone them and just solve the crime, or do more and less stalking. But he didn't do that. He kept saying, we will leave. It was a catchphrase, and it became a running joke, we will leave no stones unturned. So I just wanted to throw that out. Now, getting to my son, mention was made of my 11-year-old son solving this crime. He's been following this, believe it or not. And he made a statement to me recently. He said, Dad, I noticed that the police, they seem to have caught on recently because they just arrested the guy, something that should have been done before. And, I started laughing and I said, all in due time, son, all in due time. going back to the idea of missing persons, it's important at this point that yes, we're focusing on Donnelly, but just keep in mind, Jamaica, that from January 1st to this point, approximately 850 people have been declared missing in Jamaica. Now, some of those people, you can assume they're just runaways and maybe they'll come back. Some of them, they've left the island, from what I'm gathering, and they're probably going through Mexico to get to the US or to other islands. Then you have human trafficking, you have human smuggling, and certainly cannot rule out deaths. You cannot rule out people being killed in that. So the question is, and over the past 4 years, my understanding is that more than 8,000 people have been declared missing. So you ask yourself the question, what is the JCF doing about this? Is this a priority? One may rightly raise the question, and before I raise the question, I said Donnelly's case deserves all the attention we're giving it. But somebody, a relative of one of those 850 people, or all of them, could easily raise the question, and rightly raise the question, what about our family members? How come they're not getting the attention that Donnelly is getting? Not that they're trying to say that she shouldn't get it, but they're like, this should be a priority for the JCF. What is the JCF doing? Now, I'm aware that CVM, they have a program called Missing, and it's broadcasted several times during the week. And they talk about missing people. That's a good public service there. But CVM was not hired to serve, protect, and reassure. That's the bailiwick. That's the province of the JCF. So question is, and I'm sure they're struggling with it, because I'm not the first person to raise it. Several people have raised it, saying, what's going on with the other 850? More so, what happened to the other people for the past years? What are we doing? Do we have a squad? Do we have a division? Do we have a battalion of people looking at these? Or are they we just take the complaints and just put them in a book and they're just stats? That's a question that's been raised. Going back to the types of investigation and the techniques, one of the things that I would use is polygraph. Now, the polygraph, it's not accepted in U.S. courts, but it can be used as a tool. And there are ways that you can use it to get to the truth. Not that it's going to tell you the truth, but there are ways you can use it to get, and I've seen it done. So that's something that they probably, if they haven't thought about it, they probably should think about it. Now, I don't know what the rights of people are, if they're just suspects, or if they're persons of interest, or if they're witnesses. I don't know what the rights are of people in Jamaica to refuse the polygraph, but it's certainly something that should come up in the discussion.
Yeah, I just want to say something here, Mr. No stone unturned. I didn't collaborate with the PNP either. To come up with that term. Just want to be absolutely clear.
I know you didn't.
Hold a minute for me, Dr. Francis. Just 1 minute for me, please. Our listeners, if you want to take part in our discussion or ask Mr. Rattigan or any of my panelists on this program any questions, you can call Roots FM studio number 876-225-9478 or WhatsApp call only 876-782-8235. WhatsApp call only 876-782-8235. Roots FM 876-225-9478. Go ahead, Dr. Francis. Then I go to the next question.
Yeah, I want to say that that was an unfortunate statement, actually, that I don't normally use it, but I did. And now that you've told me the rationale behind it, I agree with you. But when I was saying that, I meant that we have to, and I'm sure you understand the process, that we really have to look in every corner, under every possible thing to get to the truth. Your son is very man, he has perception. And so therefore, and I know he got it from you, so don't say, and of course your wife, but the fact of the matter is that we need young people like that who are looking at things and trying to make their own analyses and so on. And the people of Jamaica, I encourage them. What you have been doing is although some people don't like it, it has to be done in order to bring the country to boot. When I look at other countries and how they are operating and how they've been able to stem the tide of crime and corruption, etc., which is important. Jamaica is at the top of the in many respects, in many areas. Jamaica, look, the Eiffel Tower had its colors on Jamaica on Emancipation Day. What I'm saying is, and I close on this part of it, we are so important, but we can lose that importance. There's some great people. We have Babs Green did a fantastic job. Let's just say that on the emancipation, on the celebration so far, and Bartlett has brought a lot of people to Jamaica. But we could lose it. Members of this panel and others I've heard, we could lose it if we don't take care of the things that we have. And Donaldson, let me tell you something, is the epicenter of this. Of course, the 800 people are important, but it's the epicenter, and we must not allow it to just go into the wind.
But you know what? I agree with you on that. And also, I need to make a big shout out to Miss Betty Ann Blaine. She's a child advocate. And one of the things with her program is that she's very concerned about missing children 18 and under. She doesn't deal with adults. And one of the problems, I think, with the stats is that the police, the JCF, they put out stats covering adults and children. And what they should do is they should separate them, because children have certain needs that the adults, they don't, psychological, social, and otherwise. And so if I can make a plea to the JCF, it's that when you start looking at these numbers, when you start looking at the complaints of missing individuals, please try and separate them between children and adults, so that people like Miss Betty Ann Blaine, it'll make their job a lot easier in terms of getting resources to the people that really need it. Because when an adult goes missing, it could be voluntary. Children, yes, but we have a responsibility to our children. If you're under 18, we have a greater responsibility to you than somebody over 18 who decides to walk off into the sunset. So Miss Betty Ann Blaine, big up for the work you're doing, and continue to do what you're doing, God's work.
I endorse that fully. Our children deserve more, and they are our future. And I did not get that one from the other side either. It's from the back, right? I just want to say that it's important to develop them, because if we can be doing so well, I'm sure everyone on this panel agrees, if we can be doing so well without these early resources, right? And the resources like what Betty and Blaine fully and so on, we can do 10 times that, okay? And that's my call. And so I want people to understand, support causes that are going to do. Yes, Mr. Tavares, sorry about that.
Okay.
Mr. Tavares.
Go ahead, Mr. Nelson.
You have I'm glad to see the conversation without me nudging it as rotated towards human trafficking. As you know, that is one of our key areas of coverage at the Institute of Caribbean Studies, the Crime Committee, simply because children are the forgotten elements and the missing adults as well. You know, they're out of sight, they're out of mind. And it's hard for parents to keep the police focus on several things all at once. And I say that because I noted that the police communication to parents or to a concerned loved one while an investigation is ongoing seems to be, the communication is poor. And I say it's poor because that's the only way the loved one will turn to social media to voice their complaints, voice themselves. Now, the JCF has a spokesperson, and I believe that spokesperson has to expand their horizons and to embrace all the cases where it could possibly break out across social media. They have to be able to anticipate this kind of stuff and get to it, get to those loved ones before it goes to social media, because social media, once you start broadcasting, you have different avenues down there that is going to blow it up, right? And then the police run around like firemen trying to put fires out. That's not how they should be operating. Another area that of concern that they should look at, for every case that impacts, you should have within the area headquarters out there. There's a lot of highly qualified officers. It's time to push aside the paperwork and get out on the beat and demonstrate to your subordinates how things are done, how things should be done. Because that's where the educated folks are, sitting up in the area headquarters. And the fact that you have CTAC running from one end of the island to another, multitasking and trying to cover all the bases, it's just imperceptible to me. You do have to train people up down to station level, how to handle these cases. It comes back again to our fusion center. A fusion center that can help with the collection, collation, and analysis needs to happen. Cornwall, Middlesex, Surrey. And that has to be across all areas. And you have to look at, they have to be looking at cases that are related, things that are related across cases. Because if you're not looking at that, if there's nobody looking at that, you could be missing the forest because of the trees. So what I'm saying is communication has to improve between the parents of these missing folks. And there should be a regular update, just like they get on TV and do news conferences on the special cases. This should be happening with missing persons, missing kids, to say what the progress is. Because this has been an interest of, over the last 5 years. And we don't see a whole lot of movement. The last Association of Commissioner of Police, we proposed to them having a database, Caribbean-wide, Latin American-wide, Western Hemisphere-wide, of all the predators in the Caribbean, Latin America, North America. And I have not gotten any feedback. I don't know what's happening with it, because if we propose something, you think
Dr.
it
Nelson,
will come back.
Dr. Nelson, you said you presented this to the Jamaican government?
It was presented to the Jamaican government.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. I cannot attest to
and
that.
it was presented to the CARICOM, all association of commissioners, to have this done. And that needs to be done. Because if you don't do it, what you're going to have is more and more missing people, and you're going to have these predators slipping between the cracks, coming into the island and leaving, just like they were stealth agents performing this stuff.
Let me just say this about Mr. Nelson, just to say that that was presented from 2016 to write up fusion centers. All those recommendations were made to the Ministry of National Security. They were remade and have been made with offered people who can be advisors on all of these things, gang-related experience, and some people with huge, including Mr. Rattigan, who was there sitting down yourself.
So, Dr. Francis.
Yes.
At that time, who was the Minister of National Security when they presented all of that? Was it Robert Bobby Montague?
Yes, that was Bobby Montague was the person at that time. And also, we wrote a letter to Dr. Harshang upon his appointment, and presented all of those information to him, right? And also the Commissioner of Police, Major General
Anthony Anderson.
Yeah.
Yes, Anthony Anderson. It was presented, all of them in detail was sent to him. And so
gentlemen, is it that the powers may be who hold position in Jamaica? We're going to go back to the Donna case, But
yes,
is it that the powers may be who hold position in this country, the powers may be who hold position in this country, but is it that the powers may be who hold position in Jamaica? We're going to go back to the Donnelly case, But is it that the powers may be who hold position in Jamaica? Is it that the powers may be who hold position in this country, do not want the diaspora help, but when election time come around, they come to the diaspora for money?
Well, I mean, let me make it quite clear. I would never give another political party a penny in Jamaica, not a dollar, not a single dollar, because I don't know what they're doing with the money and so on, because it is a waste of time. You can't have people who you elect and promise to do X, Y, Z in the country and they're not doing it. I'm sorry, I don't care which party you belong to. The fact of the matter is that we spent a lot of money to bring this information to boot. We have it on record, we have it written, we have it everywhere possible. I am sure Mr. Nelson can put me a whole plethora of stuff on Mr. Rattigan and so on. He spoke to very high-ranking people apart from in the crime task force and so on about these things as well and what has happened. Zilch. You know, it is so sad. So many of these things, in other words, could have been avoided if they had just simply taken our help. We're not asking to take over, we're asking our help to help you to resolve the issues of the day.
The question must be asked. Hold on, Mr. Rattigan. The question must be asked. Then, is it that the two political parties in Jamaica, and I'm not going to apologize, is embedded with corruption, that they don't want the help from the diaspora?
Well, it's a very tough one because I know a lot of persons on both sides of the fence who really want to see a solution. But the question is, it's talk and not action. And, you know, and the fact is they don't have the power. Let's just be honest. The Prime Minister has the power, not the Minister of National Security and the Deputy Prime Minister. He doesn't. The Prime Minister does. Okay? And other, you know, and they have to come to this. Why don't they want us to look at the situation? I don't. Well, figure it out yourself. Okay? Because they know this thing can be curbed. Okay, we're not talking about what Mr. Rattigan has gone above and beyond the point of duty to offer his services. Okay, we have also, you know, have written information that we could get to help to energize the police force in certain aspects. But guess what? We're here, aren't we, talking about it. Hopefully, this case of Donaldson will bring some things to the fore that we can now get out and use the resources that are available to us at the U.S. Embassy. They will help us if the government decides that they want our help.
Sir Rattigan, you were saying something?
Yeah, what we have is a colossal failure at the top. There's no leadership, no knowledge, no experience. What do I mean by that? Dr. Chang, the person who's in charge of the Ministry of National Security, under whose portfolio falls the JCF. He's a medical doctor. He has zero experience as far as law enforcement is concerned. As far as criminal activity, I would say is concerned, except if you believe the report put out by WikiLeaks, the cables emanating from the US Embassy about their feelings and their perceptions and their collection of facts about him. And I would suggest that the listeners should go ahead and Google WikiLeaks and put Dr. Chang's name underneath it. Read that for yourself and make your own determination. But having said that, this is a man who has no experience. He should never been in that position. He should have been at Ministry of Health. And that goes to the actions of the Prime Minister, because at the end of the day, he's the one who's assigning, you know, ministers to various positions. Now, here's a huge problem. If you ask, the JCF is comprised of about 12,000 officers. And if you ask them, what are the priorities of the JCF? For example, if you ask an FBI agent, it's drilled into us. If you ask an FBI agent, what are the priorities of the FBI? They can rattle them off, at least the first three. They can tell you it's counterterrorism, counterintelligence, cyber. Those are the first, which means that we're prioritizing those cases. If you ask the complement of the JCF, what are the priorities? I submit to you that the overwhelming majority of the officers, they don't know what the priorities are. That's a failure of leadership. That's a failure of leadership. The FBI's vision in fighting crime is very simple: ahead of the threat. And that goes to what my colleague Herbert was talking about. in terms of having a fusion center so you can see emerging threats, you can see what's going on so that you can be proactive, if not predictive. But certainly you don't want to be in a reactive position. You don't want things to happen and then you react. And that's the state of policing in Jamaica. Things have to happen before they react. They don't have any vision, no leadership, no knowledge, no experience about crimes happening in their own country, in Jamaica. I can sit here. I mean, this panel, as far as we are away from Jamaica, geographically, we can sit and tell you what's going on in Jamaica. I guarantee you that amongst just the four of us, we have a pretty good understanding of what's going on in Jamaica more than the overwhelming majority of the people in Jamaica. More than the overwhelming majority of the people in the JCF. And the question is, why? Why is it that someone can pick up the phone in Jamaica and call me and tell me what's going on, but they won't call the police and tell them? Why? Because the brand is damaged.
But the prime example, Mr. Rattigan, when the observer violence started in Spanish Town, the present mayor of Spanish Town was afraid. I think he was afraid to go to the JCF to tell what was going on. Is it that he was afraid of the JCF, or maybe he's afraid of the criminals? We don't know. It is now 12 o'clock. It's now 11 o'clock, rather. Are we going to take a commercial break, Mr. Brown? It's now 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock in the United States. We're here talking to Wilfred Rattigan, Dr. Herbert, Mr.
Rupert.
Herbert Nelson, Dr. Rupert Francis. We're speaking about the Donnelly disappearance and also the failure of the Jamaican government to take assistance from Jamaican citizens who have experience in law enforcement, who have experience in the FBI, counterintelligence. They refuse to take any help from them to help to fight the crime problem in Jamaica. So the question must be asked then, is successful government really want to fight crime in Jamaica? Are we going to take a commercial break? We'll be right back and make we talk.
One day, this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
Hi, I'm Sharon.
Hi, I'm Marcia.
I'm Adrian.
Join us this and every Wednesday morning for Extraordinary Abilities on Roots 96.1 FM. Join us for news, views, and interviews with extraordinary people. Extraordinary Abilities every Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on your extraordinary radio station, Roots 96.1 FM. It's gonna be fun, informative, and educational, but most of all, it will be extraordinary.
This broadcast is also brought to you by Tavares Media Group and WDT Media TV. WDT Media TV has a large global audience and is a main and reliable source for credible information online. They cover news, community outreach, sports, current affairs, national projects in Jamaica with views of over 2.3 million persons in over 50 countries and territories. WDT Media can be seen on various social media platforms. Please like, follow, and subscribe. And also, you can subscribe to the Jeffrey Tavares Media page. It's also sponsored. This broadcast is also sponsored by Jam Talk Vibes Radio, jamtalkvibesradio.net.
Do you need graphic design services? Or maybe you need branding for your business? How about multimedia production services? Contact Browns Media and Graphics at 876-877-1870. Browns Media and Graphics, developing your ideas, creating your style.
Thank you very much. Welcome back to Make We Talk here on Roots 96.1 FM, the voice of the inner city. We're here talking about the disappearance of Donaldson, It is presently under investigation by the police, but we still can talk about it because of what is going on in our country. We need to let the powers know that we will never let this one go unanswered. And there is something that I want to bring up. There was a Zoom meeting with the Diaspora and the Minister of National Security, Dr. Harris Chang. I have clips of it. Mr. Rattigan, have something to say?
Yeah, I was gonna say that a listener wrote in a while ago, and said that the Donnelly's case should be the focal point and at this point in time in terms of addressing the missing persons in Jamaica. And let me just say that if Donnelly's case doesn't cause the JCF to reprioritize its mission, then the Minister of National Security and the Commissioner of Police should resign. I'm calling for their resignation because we've put up with this nonsense for too long. We've put up with mediocrity. When you have a man who's in charge of the single most ministry responsible for holding back Jamaica because it cannot address the crime issue. If Jamaica could control the crime issue, could you imagine what a jewel it would be? It is a jewel already, but can you imagine just how much more polished it would be if we could control the crime problem in Jamaica? And we have somebody there who has no idea. You've heard the phrase half idiot. This man's a full idiot. He has no understanding of what's going on with the crime problem. And he's surrounded with nincompoops. He's surrounded with people who are no better than him. So nothing from nothing, you know the answer. Nothing. Exactly. So if they cannot solve this Donnelly problem, they should pack up and leave and turn the offices over to people who can do the job. When you have a military man, when you have a prime minister who's trying to militarize the police, and when you have a military man in charge of the police who brings a different skill set, different training, different mission than those within the JCF who have been trained to deal with law enforcement issues, then what does that say? What does that say? If you look at some of the key positions, they're occupied by military people in Jamaica. What does that say? A police friend of mine said to me the other day, he said, that's the end of it for as a career for policemen. Because he said, when you join with the aspiration that you're going to do good work, you're going to be successful at your job, you're going to protect Jamaica, and at some point you'll be promoted, hopefully to the point of Commissioner of Police. He said those days are gone, because now we have to sit under the rule of a military person who doesn't understand our tradition, our culture, our history, our training, our mission.
So the question must be asked then, Mr. Rattigan. Is it that the constitution of our country needs to be changed? Because we can't have politicians appointing Commissioner of Police.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. The idea, it's a farce. They have a commission called the Police Services Commission. They're responsible, allegedly, for selecting police commissioners. But I'm being told, and I believe that to be the case, that whoever the Prime Minister wants to be police commissioner is going to be police commissioner. That the police commission, services, that it's not an independent body. They take orders. So in this case, where you have General Anderson, who was plucked from being the chief of staff for the JDF to become the first and the only national security advisor to the Prime Minister, and then move from that position to the police commissioner, ask yourself the question, why did we need a national security advisor? And if we needed one, why don't we still need one? Did he solve all the problems there? I don't think he did, because he has a bigger problem now where he is with the JCF. And he was in charge of as national security advisor, you're in charge of the national security apparatus, meaning that you sit at the 30,000 foot level and you oversee everything that's going on affecting the national security of the country. And he was a failure there, and he's a bigger failure right now. And not only that, We're paying him to be a bigger failure. We're paying him the most money we've ever paid a police commissioner to be a bigger failure. Where else in the world does this happen? Where else? No wonder we're laughing stock when it comes to crime fighting issues. We are. What about the police? The plane that crash landed off the coast of Jamaica? I think it's Clarendon.
In Rocky Point.
Yeah, the minister came out after the people left. The passengers aboard that aircraft left. He came out, and the only thing he could say was that people aboard the aircraft have left the island. I mean, think about this. He didn't talk about in any investigation, didn't talk about the contents of the airplane. What was it doing violating Jamaican airspace? None of that. None of that. The only thing he could say was that they left the country. And then to add insult to injury, he just made a statement this past Sunday that I take umbrage at. He said that the statement made by the Prime Minister that people will be able to, under his administration, will people be able to sleep with their windows and their doors open? He said that he wouldn't have advised that. He would have said that we'll make crime a priority and we'll fund it accordingly. No, this is the Minister of National Security making a statement like that. Instead of fighting crime, he's criticizing what the Prime Minister said several years ago. No, we don't know what question was asked. Right, and if we take it as gospel truth, what the Gleaner published, because I wasn't there, I'm just going by what the Gleaner said. And if the Gleaner published, if the Gleaner misstated what he said, they should have retracted, or he should have made a stink out of it. One of those things have been done.
I just want to say, well, Mr. Tavares, the police are totally demoralized, totally demoralized, because they see no hope for the future. And if you have a group of people who have seen no hope for the future, the question is, how can they operate? The question, what is keeping them? So therefore, what is being done, and leadership is needed to do what is necessary to improve the morale of the police force. Yes, we criticize them. Yes, they're left, right, and center. But at the same time, you cannot give somebody a basket to carry water. And so therefore, I would suggest to the members of the force that are listening to this, we respect you. We know what you have to do. But we not only, we want everyone else, including the government officials, to respect you too. And you have to respect yourself. Because remember, the future of this country is in your hands. No matter what you say. And you are allowing things to happen in Jamaica, and you can do something about it. So please do that and let them know in no uncertain terms that it's not going to, because nobody, listen, Lee Kuan Yew, everybody hates when you mention, but he said, listen to me, if he don't want no followers, he wants leaders, and you don't have to like each other. He wants leaders. That's what he was elected to, and he led. And he says, who don't want to lead, don't go into politics. Go sit down at home, go to a nursing home, whatever you have to do. But do not go into politics, because you were elected to be leaders.
It's the same way, Dr. Francis.
Yes.
It's the same way. You have a member of parliament up in East Rural or West Rural St. Andrew by the name of Juliet Cuthbert Flynn.
Yes.
Who believe that the people of that area mustn't have running water. When the Gleaner Company called her about it, she tell the Gleaner Company, the gentleman or the journalist, to call it and the NWC themselves. Then she came back on Twitter and said she didn't say it. So the Gleaner Company guy came out and put the voice note or the recording of what she said. All of them is no better, they're no better, no better barrel, no better herring,
I know this is about Donaldson, but that lady is a complete abortionist. She just says she wants to reverse about the whole of the people in Jamaica, literally, from what I understand. That's what I understand. She was putting that in as her priority. No,
anyway,
come on. Anyway,
for the interest of time, Mr. Herbert, Mr. Nelson, you want to say something, sir?
Sure.
Go ahead, please.
Being military myself, I would not take exception to anything that Mr. Rattigan, Special Agent Rattigan, is saying about the military officers. Now, if he were a military officer and his background was law enforcement in the military, we know that law enforcement in the military may not be as extensive in Jamaica as it is up here in the US. because then you have involvement with civilian forces and international forces, and you're cross-trained. But one of the things I figured that they might have brought General Anderson in for was the admin and logistical organization of the force, which when you buy motor cars and you give millions of dollars towards the sale of buying police cars, and then instead of getting 100 cars, you only get 5 delivered. And I'm just using that as a measurement, because I don't remember the exact numbers that was being purchased. But the bottom line was the cars were never delivered, and we don't know, they killed the story because we don't know if the money that was paid to this car company was ever collected, right? So if you have a situation like that where you need to fix admin logistics, I think military officers are brilliant in that respect, but then you have to have a fraud, waste, and abuse program established within the force that says you can't have an order for car tires that goes in, and the car tires to be put on the police cars, and then members are tipping us off saying that the tires didn't go on the police cars, it's going on personal cars of people. So you have all these things that are out there. It means that there's no control. Command and control is very important. And last thing I'll say is, General Mark Clark, 5th Army, U.S. Army, said, if you want to solve problems, start with the concentric circle, start with the innermost circle, which is yourself, and you work from yourself out. And if every leader on that team adopts that to say, what can I change? What can I do? They have to be proactive. They can't sit on their behinds up there at headquarters and expect things to change. They need to go out and check. Unannounced checks, so you don't give people time to shuffle things under the desk and change things. You go out there and you check. You get a report, you go out and you double check the report. Eyes on. You know, you gotta be proactive.
But let's go back to the questions that I have, because there's very important questions that I have, and we have to go back to them. I want to start with Mr. Rattigan. How would you go about identifying, collecting, and transporting tests and evidence from the case, the Donnelly case?
That's an important question, because the case is going to be won or lost based on evidence collection. Not only the collection, but identification, collection,
preservation.
Yeah, preservation, transportation, testing, all of that.
Right.
Now, if we assume, let's just assume, we have no independent knowledge of this, but let's just assume that because she's been missing for almost 3 weeks, that she's transitioned, right? The question then is, what did the police do? Because my understanding is that she was reported missing on Wednesday, and I believe on Friday, a forensics team was sent to the apartment. So let's go back to that Friday. We'll have to look to see, okay, who went to the apartment? What was the purpose? Was it to interview, collect evidence? What was it? And if they collected evidence, how was that evidence collected? How was it processed? How was it transported? How was it tested? All of that, because there are protocols for the collection, preservation, etc. of evidence. And if those things weren't followed, I guarantee you, any defense attorney representing this gentleman worth the name is going to raise those issues. Those are the very first issues you're going to raise. And so instead of trying to defend this client saying he didn't do it, he's going to say the police screwed up. That's the first thing, you know, the OJ defense.
Like how they screwed up in the Klansman trial.
Exactly.
Look,
exactly.
Let me tell you something. A chain is as strong as its weakest link. And please, nobody has said that, Mr. Rattigan, is a long time, okay? I'm only messing with you. But anyway, so we have to find the weakest links in this chain, and there are a few. I am telling you. And if you find those weakest links, I hope that you'll kill them before you find them, you will get the matter solved. Okay? But knowing Jamaica, let me tell you something. Some people are on pins and needles right now. Because
so Dr. Francis, your suggestion then?
What?
And also to Mr. Rattigan and Mr. Nelson. Your suggestion then to Donnelly's family.
Yes.
Get a counsel, get a lawyer who can liaison with the DDP.
You can trust
with the DPP, liaison with the DPP and the police, and come back to you and tell what is going on. Mr. Nelson.
Here's a problem with
let me interject 1 second here. What I am seeing here at any of the news conferences is a member of the office, the DPP, in high-profile cases. You will see the AUSA here, which is Assistant U.S. Attorney, or a prosecuting member at a news conference. That means that they're following the case closely, right? They're making sure the police are dotting the I's and crossing the T's. I don't see any of that here. I see the police off on their own. And from previous experiences with that, I know for a fact that there's cases now the DP that has backfired on the DPP because they left the police out on their own, and now the DPP has to answer to whether or not there was malicious prosecution on the part of the police or other, ulterior motivation behind prosecutions of certain people. So the DPP has to get off the sideline and get in the game, right? They can't sit back and wait for the police to hand them something that might be deficient. They have to make sure up front that the case is solid. So we shouldn't be speculating at this point. They should be there.
It might be.
There's one more thing that is important, is that you have to have an independent person in the midst there who you can trust. I am saying, I don't care who want to vote like it or not. The fact of the matter is, if you don't have someone you can trust, there's no with the information and is not afraid, and we can protect that person and so on and so forth, that this matter will not be solved. Okay? Because these people obviously have connections. Whoever is involved has connections to have made this thing. There are many things that have transpired in that place. Chelsea Apartment, I think, is right across from the police commissioner's office, if my memory serves, I'm not sure. Or
no, it's not.
It's not that one? Okay,
no.
Okay. Then it's not a different name. But the point I'm trying to make is, wherever it is, it's in New Kingston. So therefore, the fact of the matter is that that type of thing, people know what is going on. Okay? And we need to find out, and we need to find out who might be trying to silence them as well. Okay? So listen, the world is watching. The diaspora is watching, right? And we want the best for our country. What this is saying is this: we have to stand up now and care if no one else cares. That's what it says. And I don't know about anybody, but we're not allowing this one to let go, because we know that we want our island home back. Let
me just say this, that from the get-go, the DPP should have been like this with the JCF. If they weren't, and they're going to start now, it's too late, because I suspect that evidence has been collected, right? And if the evidence was not collected according to protocol, we're going to have a problem. Now, this Donnelly case, as I said before, it's a very simple case to solve. Very simple case to solve. And I said before that if the JCF, if they cannot solve this case, they might as well just disband. And I meant it, and I still mean it. Anything short of a conviction in this case. We're not talking about arrest. Anybody can arrest. They can arrest people for anything. I'm talking about a conviction. Anything short of a conviction is an injustice to Donnelly and to all of the people that deserve justice. This case it's gone viral. I have people reaching out to me from South Africa, talking to me about this case. So this is not one of those cases that you can simply just push it aside and then we forget about it. This case is not going away. As long as there is a program like Make We Talk, and you have people like Rattigan, Herb, and Dr. Francis, this case is going to be on the forefront. It's not going to be put on the back burner. And this idea, let me just go back to one thing. When it's the people who are elected to lead, at least 2 ministers I'm aware of serving in this government in Jamaica said in a public forum that they weren't elected to lead, they're elected to rule. To rule.
It's a dictatorship they want.
Exactly. And that's why they can carry on with all this nonsense and think, because people don't, it's time for Jamaica to rise up. I see them demonstrating right now. I can't stop you from demonstrating, and I won't instruct them to demonstrate. All I can say is that that's your right. Do it legally. Get your permit, and then you go out and you demonstrate if you believe in your cause, right? But people in Jamaica, they have to stop accepting mediocrity. And that's what they've been. If you don't talk about it, then people won't do anything about it. No, I'm a vocal critic. By the way, I'm an equal opportunity critic. I criticize both parties, right? But I criticize them for this reason. I criticize them for them to do better. I don't criticize them to embarrass them. I criticize them to do better. Then when they don't do better, because the first time it's constructive criticism. And if they don't do better, then after that it's destructive criticism. Then you have to launch into them. And that's the point where I am right now, because I don't see, as far as fighting crime is concerned in Jamaica, you cannot fight crime. By the way, you can control crime, you can't eliminate crime, but I don't see any real efforts. And that's because you have people with no vision. I don't see any real efforts in terms of stemming crime in Jamaica. And especially when you have, imbeciles running the ministry and the JCF, this is what's going to happen. It's a disgrace to the people who took the oath to serve. I'm talking about the rank and file people, JCF members. I've met them, and the ones that I know, they're good, determined, solid, dedicated, good servants, right? You have a few bad apples. Just like the society at large, you have a few bad apples and they make it bad for everybody. But by and large, the JCF is a solid organization, but it's been run. It's been run and it's been led by idiots. And as I'm saying, Jamaica, you not take back them talk there.
Anyway, sir.
Yes.
Don't take it back. Let me go on another question, please. Because this, as what we said, Dr. Herbert Francis.
Rupert.
Dr. Rupert Francis, rather. Wilfred Samuel Rattigan, Herbert Nelson, and I, Jeffrey Tavares, will not let this case go. The people of Jamaica need answers. Donnelly family need answers. They need justice. It can't continue like this. 8,000 Jamaicans gone missing since 2018. 8,000 of our men and women and children gone missing in this country. And the question is this. It is reported that the last person who see Donnelly was her boyfriend, Constable Noel Maitland, based on conversation with Jamaican lawyers. What is the next step pertaining to this investigation that is going on, Mr. Rattigan? Okay. What would you do differently? Well, Mr. Herb, you are next. Then Dr. Francis next. Go ahead, Mr. Rattigan.
Yeah, I've had several conversations with my Jamaican colleagues, lawyers, and they've informed me that once you're arrested, the process starts, meaning the legal process starts for you once you're arrested, because the government has 72 hours to press charges. And if they don't, then the defense attorney can bring what's called a habeas corpus writ before the court, basically saying that this man is being held unconstitutionally because he was supposed to be charged or released. So they're asking the court to release him. Now, my understanding is that Mr. Maitland was arrested last week, Wednesday. if my memory serves me correctly.
Yes.
72 hours would have elapsed already. So I believe there's a writ in court right now calling for his release. If they can't, if they're supposed to do a Q&A with him, question and answer. And after that point, they're supposed to decide whether or not they're going to charge him or not. Now, if he has an attorney, I can assure you that he's not going to admit to anything except his name, his date of birth, his address, his place of employment. Beyond that, if they start asking him about the event or the disappearance, his lawyer's going to probably tell him, don't answer the question.
Hold on, Mr. Rattigan. He was last seen. He went to Miss Donaldson's house, collected Miss Donaldson, went back to his apartment with Miss Donaldson. What he normally does is to pick her up and then drop her back off.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're saying to me that she disappeared from his apartment then, by word speaking then. So what you're saying to me, based on all of that, the police can't say, okay, she was last seen in your present where she is.
Well, yeah, but here's a problem. You have to show the connection, though. You have to show that if she's dead, that he's the cause of it. And they can't show that she's dead yet. They haven't showed that. They haven't shown that. That's a good point you raised, because I'm not sure if it's a search and find or search and recover mission that the police is on right now. Because if it's a search and recover, it suggests that she's dead, right? If it's a search and find, means that she's missing. They're still looking for her. So I'm not sure exactly where they're going with it, but you have to make the connection, though. Just because he picked her up and he took her to his house and she disappeared, I mean, you have the beginning. You have the beginnings of what do you call these cases again? Circumstantial. You have the beginnings of a circumstantial case, but by no means is that proof beyond a reasonable doubt that whatever happened to her, he's responsible, because lots of things could have happened. So they are going to have to prove that. So if the guy, if Mr. Maitland says, I'm not talking, and if they don't have no evidence connecting him to her demise, he's going to walk. He's going to walk.
It comes down to this, Jeffrey. If it's search and find, it means that they have established from the CCTV or from a neighbor eyewitness that she did in fact leave the premises. But in my estimation as an analyst, if there's nothing to establish that this woman walked out of that apartment and took a taxi or whatever to someplace else, which usually would be home at that hour of the morning, then you have to go on the recovery basis. What did in fact leave the apartment? And from what we're hearing, the garbage truck came and the couch was taken out. That's what we're hearing. So the only way of her leaving that apartment, if there's no evidence otherwise that she walked out, was that she was carried out. And the only means establishing that she might have left via those means would be that garbage truck. And this is where an intense evidentiary review would have to occur and pressure be put on that you have to do the same thing to that garbage man, establish the timeline on him, right? Was he prepped before in any, was there any contact before? All right. That would then show evidence that there might be something that preempted her even coming there. Her coming there was just to execute. There was planning before. So you have to then bring pressure to bear on him. Everything he ever did wrong in his life, you'd have to go examine to see if you can find the leverage you need on him. to include whether he's operating legally, his license, the whole 9 yards. So when we talk about all hands on deck and bringing pressure to bear, it has to be around the period before, during, and after. And everybody involved, to include, like I say, his counterparts at the station, anybody that he was in touch with just prior to when she got there, when she was there, and afterwards, that person has got to see pressure like they never seen before. It doesn't matter whether or not they're not involved or not, but bring pressure to bear on everyone, get them talking. Because if you have dirty cops on your hands, then you have dirty cops who can be plotters as easily as they can lie to cover one another. And you have to break that up. And the only way you break that up is getting background information on everybody.
I'm you're talking, yeah, but here's the situation. The other factors. And I understand that other people went in there as well during the interim. There are telephone calls with the arrested person's voice saying that she left there at 11 o'clock in the morning. And it was proven that it was not so. So the question he said that there was an argument and, whatever. The point I'm trying to make is that circumstantial evidence still can be weighty and can be used if it is done properly. You can manipulate a lot of things, but if you can show from what I have read and what I have observed and whatever training education I have and experience, you can show a pattern, a consistent that you cannot get. I don't care how good the attorney is. But the question is the Jamaican jury and what is happening. Are these people really serious about curbing crime?
And that's the question. That's the question. I started button, Dr. Frank, but I have, in the interest of time, that's the question I want to ask. If he is not, if he doesn't confess to anything, Mr. Rattigan, how are they going to go about charging him? And if they charge him, are they going to have a jury selection with the case? And one more thing, 2 questions in one. Someone on social media is asking, are you coming to Jamaica to help with the investigation?
Well, let's answer the second question first. I've said it time and time again that if the family so desires and they would like to have me there, it would be my pleasure to come. And in fact, I will go one better than just coming. I won't charge them for my fees at all. I will not charge for my fees. I consider it my duty to get to the bottom of this and to bring justice to the for the family. So and the people that I would be part of my team, I would try to convince them that, let's just go and just do what's right without even thinking about financial compensation. I can't vouch for them, but I can vouch for me. I wouldn't be charging any fees to come down and assist. Now, the problem with it is this. Follow-up question, will the JCF allow outside investigators to come in and assist? Not take over, but assist. My gut feeling is, based on my gut feeling and also based on Minister Chang's statement at the forum held by the ambassador, I think it was last year.
Yes, I have it here, where Ambassador Ward. Actually, it was Dr. Francis who asked the question and one thing. Anyway, continue.
Correct. I dare say the answer is going to be no. And therein lies a problem for the JCF. They're going to be in a quandary because if they refuse outside assistance and they fail to get a conviction, they'll be held to pay. Things are going to happen because this is a case that they should not lose. This is one case that is a winnable case. And so
Brother Rattigan.
Yes, sir.
The JCF is the representative of the government at this point. Let's call it that. And if whatever the government is not the JCF will make that decision, in my opinion, if you have a commissioner of the sort that you have there now. It is the government who's going to call. So the government should pay the price if this goes, because nobody has really said anything. And not because it's an ongoing case, I understand that. But you have to be responsible for every person in the country. And if you do not want anybody to come in and see what is going on and to assist you in resolving some of the issues, why you must answer the question, why is that so? And you and I already can answer that question, and anybody else, and the people too, because I see the comments coming in. And let me just make it abundantly clear to all of those out there who think that they can sweep this one under the carpet. You cannot. So stop trying, because you're going to go down with whomever who is trying to do that to the family of Donnelly and the countless persons around the world. Because let me tell you something, Minister Bartlett must be in a great frenzy right now, because with all his work, he's going to come to naught if them continue. And not because we don't love Jamaica. That is foolishness. We love Jamaica, and that we want the Jamaica that we know we can trust.
If the family, here's what the family should do if they really want justice, they should call for, they should notify the JCF that, look, we're going to retain a group of investigators. We're going to have them come down, and we would like them to work with you to address some of the evidence gathering and so on and so forth. Right? We're not supervisors. We're not exerting oversight. We're working with them. They're going to say no. I know this. They have to say no. Minister Chang must say no, because he's afraid that if he opens the floodgates, then people are just going to start coming in, and next thing you know, we're going to be looking at all of the investing. That's what he's fearful of, right? We're not worried about that. We're worried about Donnelly, right? We're focused on Donnelly. So we're saying, let us come in and assist. He's going to say no, and then they're going to have a tremendous amount of blowback from the Jamaican public saying, what is it that you guys are hiding? Why is it that you don't allow these people to come in and assist? Is it because a police officer is involved? Why?
Or is it that the police officers involved have dirt on the rank and file, and maybe have dirt on the National Security Ministry?
Mr. Tavares.
Go ahead, Dr. Francis.
Very good question. But Mr. Tavares, let me say this to you. You have Amnesty International. You have Jamaicans for Justice. I don't hear a peep out of them.
Hello, Dr. Francis, before you go any further, listen to me. And listen to me good.
Go ahead.
You see?
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, Jamaican for Justice, that young man in Clarendon stabbed that woman 48 times. And Jamaicans for Justice came out and said that they should be lenient, that he shouldn't get the death penalty. As far as I'm concerned, Jamaican for Justice don't mean anything good to the Jamaican people.
Well, we know that is the case, but I'm just saying to you, they're still there and they're supposed to. Where are they for Donnelly Dellins? I don't think they've said anything.
Just so like the church,
what
them
we
shut up.
must call them now is the Jamaicans for Injustice. Because I cannot understand for the life of me, how come you can love your country so much and you're doing everything you come out that is to curb crime of some sort, you can't say anything. It's a waste of time. So yes, but I'm saying to you, hold on. Amnesty International and other such agencies in the world have some credibility, some degree of credibility. And if they call on all these things, that the nation itself, they give money and they allow people to give money to various countries. And if they know that all of this is in jeopardy, the IMF and all that sort of thing, they know it, then they will have to do something. Okay? Because let me make it quite clear, they're not gods. Okay, they're people, and they need to understand that they must treat the people as they had pledged to do, as equal, not their rulers, so to speak.
Before you go any further, Sir Rattigan, let me say this. The Jamaica Council of Churches, the Jamaica Umbrella of Churches, and all of those people who have, as an organization, a blessed country, in this country of ours, all of them is in the back parties of politicians, so they can't say nothing. Go ahead, Mr. Rattigan.
This case is getting the attention. This missing person case is getting the attention like no other case we've seen in recent history. Yet, we haven't heard a thing from the Prime Minister. Right?
Panana Pong.
We haven't heard from the Minister of National.
Because Donnelly is not of the vum and the vum. Go ahead.
We haven't heard from the Minister of National Security. Instead, what we've heard him talk about is he would never advise the Prime Minister to say, don't, people won't be able to sleep at their window. Foolishness. That's not an issue. What the Prime Minister said 6 years ago, he said it. In fact, if I were the Prime Minister, I'd be upset because I'd say, why is this man calling attention to something I promised and I haven't delivered on? Why is he calling attention to? Not only that, it's his job to make sure that people are safe and comfortable in their homes with doors open and windows open. I make the policy, right? As a Prime Minister, I set the policy. His job is to ensure that it's carried out. So he's calling attention to his failure as well as the Prime Minister's failure. So they're not, and I don't know if it's a distraction. Some people say it's a distraction. He wants to distract what's going on with the Donnelly case. But I'm telling you this, if they do not have a conviction, I'm not talking about a resolution because you can find out who did it. I'm talking about a conviction where somebody's found guilty. If they do not have a conviction, JCF, pack up and go home.
Just like what the former Minister of National Security and Justice, K.D. Knight, said to the former Prime Minister, pack your bags and go. If they do not have a conviction in the Donaldson's case, Commissioner of Police, Major Anthony Anderson, pack your bags and go. Minister of National Security and Injustice, Dr. Harris Chang, pack your bags and go. You people are taking the Jamaican people for a bunch of idiots for far too long. We pay tax dollars pay to secure you. Who is securing us? Who is securing the people of our country? Enough is enough. We can't continue like this in this country anymore. I want to have some couple of minutes leave. And we're going to continue the discussion for next 30 minutes after we go off air with Roots FM. So I'm saying to everybody on the social media platform, when we come off Roots FM, go to Make We Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel or Jeffrey Tavares Facebook page, because we're going to continue this. Justice for Donaldson. And we need justice. You have emancipation yesterday. Are we truly emancipated in this country? Are we truly independent in this country? When our justice system is out of whack? What's sort of nonsense going on here? The People's National Party taking this thing for political mileage? It's somebody's child.
Let me tell you something. This is really something else because I have never, talk about effrontery, talk about un-Jamaican, talk about, people are talking about Jamaica, and if you talk anything else, they are un-Jamaican because there are things that is being done in Jamaica, right? Okay, I can get by, other people can get by on, but it's not right. We are not really serving the people of the country fully. Right? We are okay, our children are okay, we can travel, we can do this, we can do that. But what about the rest? I'm not no communist, everybody knows that. I'm no socialist. What I am is a Jamaican. What I am is somebody who grew up in Jamaica, like all these erstwhile gentlemen on this platform today. And we love our country. And we believe that every child, both born and unborn, deserves an opportunity to be called a Jamaican too. And Donaldson was not just an ordinary Jamaican. She was a head girl. She was a bright girl. How in God's name she got mixed up the way that she got, I don't know. But a lot of young ladies in this country must learn from her experience. All that glitters is not gold. She's from a good family. She had a great father and a great mother. And family members, because why they've come out, I've listened to some of them. It's so heart-rending. We must not fail her in life and in death. And that's the thing about the death penalty that some people don't want to talk about. I will talk about it. I'm not afraid. I say if you deliberately and premeditatedly take a life, then you should pay with your own. Pay with your own. So I am saying that I firmly believe that we need justice for Donnelly Donaldson. It's the only fair resolve. We must not back off our commitment to this cause, not for a long shot. It is terrible. The girl deserves better. Anyway, I turn it over to the other panelists.
Something, Mr. Herbert, just something. But yeah, I have to say this. A lot of people is saying, because somebody hacked into my YouTube account and delete last week's program.
Wow.
You see? But let me make something clear. Categorically clear. My last name may be a Tavares. But I need a PNP or a JLP. I am a Jamaican and Jamaica come first for me. I born in my country. I came to my country with labor pay, not aeroplane. So all who are out there who believed that you all can have political party wrap up on the hand and say politics come first, not in my category, not in my cabinet. No PNP, no JLP come first for me. Jamaica come first. And the injustice of our people have been going on for years upon years, from 1945 until now. We've been swapping black dog for monkey for far too long in this country. Where politicians take us for a bunch of idiots. We can't continue like this, Jamaicans. And I say to the people of this country, the time has come where you all must say to yourselves, are you a Jamaican? Or are you a member of the People's National Party, the Jamaica Labour Party? What have they done for the people of this country? The People's National Party is the oldest political party in the Western Hemisphere. The Labour Party is whatever. What have they done for the people of this country? More than organized criminal gangs in this country. And when the gang get out of hand, they can't control them. The time has come, Jamaicans, to rise up peacefully. Let your voice be heard. Let your voice be heard with Donaldson. Too much.
I understand your passion, and I agree with maybe 75% or 80% of what you said, but I cannot agree that they have done nothing. Because we had some very good national heroes who came out of the whole business of the era coming up from to independence. And I really appreciate what they have done and so on. And, some good people who have worked in the government and still working. I know that there are a lot of good people who are there in Jamaica right now. And those are the people I'm now speaking to, who know better, who have sat there and so, and you just have to take a hold of it. You just have to understand. I do believe that governments have served their purposes and so on. But I do believe there are some people who follow that song, say, that we in the diaspora have gone away. I can't remember the name, but that song and the jig to it and what have you, like we run and leave Jamaica. I did not run. I had to leave Jamaica because I could not get a job for my family to survive. And the fact of the matter is, many of us go, but we decided not to look back. The jobs that I've done, I would never have done had I been in Jamaica. But we never left Jamaica. And I want to tell you, there are good people down there, whether they're political or not, because I'm telling you, I know them. I know, and they're hearing me. And I want you to hear me. There are good people down there. I know there are good people in the churches, but they are so silent right now.
They're in the back pocket of politicians, so they're silent.
No.
Call a spade, Dr. Francis, call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
Majority of it is in the back pocket of politicians.
Yes, and listen, I am not saying that some aren't, but I'm not willing to say all of them are. What I do say, though, is that they're conflicted at this time. They're conflicted at this time, so we cannot throw the baby out with the bathwater. Those good people with those, because no, the majority of Jamaicans that I know, we can't make reggae. We can't have done an independence celebration the other day like we did. It is tremendous, right? We could not do that if there were not good people in Jamaica. It can't be all bad people. I hear every day, I speak to every day, good people every day, Mr. Tavares and my other colleagues. And they know too.
It is
saying to Wona, humor me a minute. I love what we're doing, right? And I honor what we're doing. And I 1000% commit to what I'm doing. However, I must give honor to those Jamaicans who are making a go of it and are trying to keep the country on a better path. And I hope that they recognize that they have a job to do as well as us. And that's all I want to say. Make sure that we do not throw the baby out with the bathwater. There are good people down there in the police, any way you want to. Legal, and whatever. And the poor people, they're good poor people too. It is the bad people who just believe that some of them mustn't work and must take from other people. Some of them must just do what they can do and don't care about it. Take lives. Look, you see what happened to the lawyers in Barbados who took the people their money, and what the people do? Go kill the whole family. I'm not wishing that on anybody. But those who sow the wind will weep the world. That's what the Bible says.
Okay.
All right, so okay, good.
Dr. Francis, it is now 11:54 in the land of wood and water, where majority of Jamaicans have no water in their running pipe. It is now 12:54 in the neck of the woods where the esteemed lawyer and former FBI agent is, Mr. Wilfred Rattigan. We don't have enough time here on Roots FM airways, but I'm saying to other people out there, go to the Jeffrey Tavares, Make We Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel. We're going to continue this discussion there for the next maybe hour or less than that. Mr. Rattigan, say something before you go, because we only have 5 minutes.
But before you come in, Will, let me just say this. There's a golden rule of the crime scene. And Special Agent Rattigan knows that. Do not touch, alter, move, or transfer any object of the crime scene unless it's properly marked, photographed, measured, sketched, or whatever. Now, it doesn't say here that you give the suspect a head start by having indecision in the ranks as to who is going to handle the investigation. There should have been policy and procedures in place that once a crime scene involves a police officer, that police officer is extricated and removed from the crime scene to preserve it. But we lost time at that crime scene, from the time the mother called in to the time that they took action. So if anything was touched, altered, removed, or what have you, that impacts the case from the start.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nelson. Mr. Rattigan, please, because it's now 11:56. Go ahead.
Right. There is a social contract between the Jamaican public and the Jamaican government. And part of that social contract is that the Jamaican people will pay taxes for security. Now, that contract has been violated by the Jamaican government. They have not provided security for the Jamaican people. They've come up with ZOZO, SOE, and other schemes, and they've all failed. In fact, here are some of the things that they've done. They've tried to legislate their way out of the crime problem, even though legislation exists already for people caught with an unlicensed firearm. So that's a farce. They've tried to negotiate their way out of this problem by saying that they will meet with Dons and talk to them, and there's a schism right now between Chuck and Chang over this issue. They've tried to spend their way out of this by saying they will buy weapons from criminals, not knowing that the criminals are going to turn around and buy better weapons and more weapons with the money that they're offering them. So, in the words of a very popular Jamaican song during our time, look they know, everything's crash.
Yeah, listen to me now.
Dr. Francis, I don't have enough time. Time. Don't leave. We're going to go on my YouTube channel, so you don't go anywhere.
All right, I want to tell you though that the two men who were shooting at themselves, firearm holders, was not even arrested by the police down in Montego Bay. What a situation. Two men were seen firing their firearms on the road at each other. Two firearm holders in Montego Bay. I have the clip.
I know. They're in the wild west.
Yes, and they were not arrested. I understand.
It goes back down again. I'm gonna wrap up here on Roots FM. But I
Okay.
tell you something. If you want to hear more of this conversation from these esteemed gentlemen, Jamaicans, the son of Jamaica, or the sons of Jamaica, go over to the Jeffrey Tavares, the Make We Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel. We're going to continue there for the next maybe an hour or less than that. You know, I just see Dr. Francis opening his mouth. Don't worry yourself, Dr. Francis. You stay where you are. Stay where you are, Dr. Francis. I see where our good friend, Dr. Pastor Paulette Anarchy Thompson said, I love Jamaica, but right now, I am afraid to return. And that's the sentiment of many Jamaicans. They're afraid to return. All they can hear, the Governor General, who want him to drive around a Niam, is 2030 vision. Come live and work. Live and work where? In a crime-infected country, in a corrupt country? The House of Parliament corrupt, Jamaica House corrupt, King's House corrupt, everywhere corrupt. I can behave myself this morning before they kick me off of Roots FM. It is now 11:59. I am Jeffrey Tavares saying thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching on Roots FM YouTube and Facebook page. If you want to hear more of this discussion, go to Make We Talk Jeffrey Tavares YouTube channel. We're going to continue there. Justice for Donna Lee Donaldson. Until you hear my voice again, I am Jeffrey Tavares, returning to the studios of Roots 96.1 FM, the voice of the inner city. Owen Brown, over to you.
I have a dream.
Welcome back. Here.
Yes.
I have with me the goodly gentleman. Our gentleman, why are you laughing at me this morning?
I'm not laughing at you at all, but I just want you.
You're motivating Doc, you're motivating Will. I mean,
No. Hold on. The point I'm trying to make is this, that it's very important that we reach out to the good people of Jamaica, because I still believe that the good people of Jamaica outnumber the bad people of Jamaica. And there are some people who think they're good people in Jamaica who need to look at their activities, okay? And I mean, let's face it, we're all Jamaican. We love Jamaica for many, many reasons. And we do make it, and we can make it, if we can create all the things, that positive things. You know, when I see those girls run, when I see them, you know, do so many things, play football, anything, but when I see them achieve what they're achieving in the schools that I've taught in, and you guys have been and taught to. So, you know, when we see what is happening around us, the prosperity of the average Jamaican in the diaspora, we have to know that we have some fantastic people. Our problem is not being a slave, is the legacy of slavery, which said they must divide and rule us, and we're not worth anything. You understand me? And we are like crabs in a barrel. We pull down each other. Let me make it quite clear. A lot of people must understand from this program that myself and Herb Nelson don't think alike all the time. You should hear me and him argue. Okay, Wilfred Rattigan, the same thing. You should hear us argue. Jeffrey Tavares just argued on the thing prime time too. We've argued, and you know what? Because that's what it's all about. We talk about our problems, we try to fix our problems together, and if we make an error, we are not afraid to say so. Right? And it's simple, because we are here for Jamaica. You understand? We are here for Jamaica. Nobody on this thing here now. You think so we want to be sitting down here for 3 hours? Any of us could do XYZ for 3 hours. That's why I open my mouth, because I have so much to do. But the fact of the matter is, this is important. It's independence we're celebrating right now. But we are not independent. We are codependent and totally dependent, right, on people who think that they should rule us. All right?
And what they fail to understand, Dr. Francis, that they are the servant of the people of the country. Well, the minister, the prime minister in Latin means chief servant. He is the chief prime minister, Andrew Holness. You're the chief servant of the people of Jamaica. Dr. Harris Chang, who is the minister of insecurity and injustice, the minister of no damn security and whatever. You're the second chief servant in command of the people of Jamaica, because you're the deputy prime minister. You're the deputy minister of defense. We can't continue like this in this country. Mr. Rattigan, somebody asked a question, sir, to ask you this question. Why is it But the former People's National Party administration led by the former Prime Minister Percival James Noel Patterson III, why they did not consider you as Commissioner of Police, sir? Talk to the people about it. Then we go back to Donna Lee.
Okay. Well, I think we have enough time. We can go through this one. No, I'll be brief. My case is quite interesting because I applied under the PNP government and I applied under the JLP government. Once under the PNP government, twice under the JLP government. And I was never shortlisted. And I was told that a senior politician in Jamaica said that my CV was the best he has ever seen to apply for the position of police commissioner. But he said he'd never get that job.
Hello, you're afraid to call name, you know. Well, me not call name. PJ Patterson, the Prime Minister of Jamaica. PJ Patterson, the Prime Minister of Jamaica, said that Wilfred Rattigan's CV is good, but he don't think he can become Commissioner of Police. Continue.
Well, I neither confirm nor deny. but except that the statement was made, and so you ask yourself the question. Well, here's the thing: when I applied, they were the Jamaican government being led by the PNP at the time. They had something called mapping, and they instructed all high commissions and embassies to map the diaspora so that they could identify people who would be willing to come home to work towards Vision 2030. As a result of that, I was contacted by the High Commission in South Africa and told to apply. So I applied, and then all of a sudden there's this big hullabaloo saying that me a foreigner and that them don't want no foreigner in Jamaica and all of this nonsense. And so I wasn't shortlisted. The second time around, I applied, wasn't shortlisted. I decided I wasn't going to do it again. The third time, the Woolmer's High School, I gave a speech to the sixth form. And the boys convinced me that I should apply because they said, we need somebody like you to address the crime issue in Jamaica because it's getting worse. And we don't have the people here who seem, with this required skill sets to deal with the crime issue. So I've applied under both parties and both parties have rejected me. In fact, a friend of mine said to me, you've managed to unite both parties. And I said, what do you mean? He said, none of them don't like you. So he said they're in agreement about that. None of them don't like you. So I said, well, you know what? They can find that as a point of agreement, then so be it, because I'm fine. I'm not looking for a job. I'm retired and I'm practicing law. Retired from the FBI and I'm practicing law. So I'm not looking for a job. I felt that it was my job to give back to Jamaica because Jamaica has given so much to me. It's nurtured me. It's cared for me. It's educated me, at least on the basic and the secondary level. It's given me a good foundation on which I built upon upon migrating to the US. So I was part of the group in the diaspora that would criticize Jamaica a lot, but never wanted to share your experiences and your knowledge to develop the country. And then it got to the point where I said, you know what? If I'm going to criticize, then I should be able to assist. And that's when I decided I was going to offer my assistance. And so it was rejected. And that's the long and short of it. It's been rejected and I'm fine. I'm okay with it. And for people who think that I'm still trying to get that job, I no longer want a job. I've moved on. What I'd be willing to do though, is to assist, help the person whoever they select. Not this, even this gentleman, Mr. Anderson. I'd be willing to help him because poor thing, him have no idea what he matter. And so I'd be willing to go there and hold his hand and get rid of the High Commission, get rid of all those, the dead weight. And I've said it, and I'll say it again, dead weight. Because if they're providing, if his action is a reflection of the advice he's received, no better hearing, no better barrel. So I'll be willing to go back and help people, help whoever they select with my contacts, with my knowledge, experience, training, to make Jamaica a better place.
Let me say, I just want to say to Brother Rattigan, I'm what I wrote to you, and I expressed my displeasure in not being true. I don't know if you recall.
I do.
And I have not waned from that, and because I found your straight talk, we always have a joke for each other, no matter whether we like it or not. We always have a joke, and we you talk Jamaican, you know. I mean, come on, it's not this is hero worship, but you know, I should have been a kind of, but I'm now a little pariah, because I'm not expected to talk against certain things. I was not expected, but unfortunately, man, I was not born that type of Jamaican, that would just sit down and not say something, because I really do believe in Jamaica, and if you believe in a higher power, you have to be willing to say the right thing and do the right thing, and so. There you go. But they cannot say that we're not patriots. I know they've tried to do a lot of things and so on and so forth. When I say they, I mean people who don't understand us, who we may be stepping their way and so on, and they want to do things their way, or it's the highway. And it's unfortunate, but I know some of these guys very, very well. And I just want to appeal to their better judgment. Look, if you're really serious about Jamaica, and not just the hype, stop trying to divide us and rule us. It's not going to happen. Because see, Mr. Rattigan and myself and Mr. Nelson are still here, still working on the very same things. Okay, because we recognize that we are better together than apart in terms of this whole situation. All right, and we have a lot of persons there. If they just simply, and by the way, you and I know, we have written to them, written to Mr. To the National Security Minister, written to the I've sent notes to the Prime Minister, but other things and so on and so forth. And you're gonna tell me we have spent money, countless amount of money, going to Jamaica and you're gonna tell me you could have avoided all of this nonsense and you're not even trying? Come on, give me a break. So yes, they deserve some of the tongue lashing that they have gotten. And really and truly, come on, man. Jamaica is would be much better off if we just followed our own advice and move forward. So,
gentlemen,
that's
I am seeing here on my thing here where the press conference of the JCF has been pushed back to 3:00.
Yeah, man, I listen to your program, man.
Yes. And I'm gonna ask a question. Step away from here for the next 5 minutes, and I want you to answer the questions for me. The question I'm going to ask is this. In this age of social media, where there's a great need to know, should the JCF at all times update the country on the Donaldson case and their family? Mr. Rattigan, you're first, then Mr. Nelson, and then Mr. Dr. Francis next.
The JCF is suffering from a deficit, and the deficit is trust. People don't trust the JCF, and so when they have a blackout of information, people get suspicious. Now, it's my understanding that they've had at least two press conferences already, and I have to give the JCF some credit here. I think what happened was that they expressed what they were doing as far as the investigation is concerned in coded language. For example, they said that, well, we have, the forensics people involved, and we have the telephone people involved, we have this involved. And people were still asking questions like, are you checking on the cell sites, the cell towers? Are you checking on tracking the phones? I mean, they essentially told us that that's what they're doing. But they cannot come out and say specifically, and I understand why, because they don't want to jeopardize the investigation. So they did give us some information as to where they're going with the investigation, but I don't think people read between the lines to see what exactly they were trying to say. Now, should they give regular updates? I mean, once you start, it's hard to stop. I mean, what they should have done from the very beginning is they should have said, look, it's an ongoing investigation and we're not at liberty to speak any further on this. If we have developments, that's worthy to be disseminated, we will. But otherwise, that's it. But they didn't. And once you start down the road of giving people information, then you've got to continue, because if you stop, it's going to be a problem. And that's compounded by the fact that people don't trust the JCF, because the JCF does not have a good history of conducting investigations and informing people about where they're going with their investigation. So unlike the FBI, for example, I use this as an example. If the FBI, for example, and I used to do it, I'd come out and face the public and say, hey, it's an ongoing investigation and we can't talk much more about it. And people would be satisfied with it. They're satisfied because they knew that at the end of the day, something is going to happen. Somebody's going to get arrested. And there was a 90 to 95% chance that the person who's arrested is either going to plead guilty or found guilty. The opposite is true with the JCF. I'm being told that if you're arrested for committing a homicide in Jamaica, you stand like a 90% chance of getting away with it, and that's simply because there's no collaboration between the prosecutor and the investigator at the outset. So the investigators, they go out and they do whatever they need to do, and then they come to the prosecutor later on, and then they move forward with the case, only to have a setback when the defense attorneys start questioning the integrity of the investigation. And that's where the problem is. So at this point, I would say to them, look, come out, make a statement. If you're going to arrest the guy, you arrest him. If you're not going to arrest him, then you cut him loose, and then you face the aftermath of cutting him loose. That's it.
Yeah, gentlemen, everything starts in the intelligence cycle with collection. And everything starts in the investigative cycle with collection of evidence. But there's a timely effect here. And we have seen over and over, it takes a while to get things moving because somebody overarching control moves to the fore to take charge of the case. And that's timely. Too much time is passing. So you have to have an equally trained unit in every parish, in every station. These people should be trained up to secure crime scenes fast and efficiently, and to begin the process. And if there's a rapid reaction team from headquarters, CTOC or MOCA or wherever it is, depends on the level of interest in the case. They have to move in place immediately. At least send one member out, then have the other members come in behind them. But you have to have that seriousness about each of these cases when the cases come up. You can't be dancing around and let your own internal police officer make it appear that there's some favoritism or you're giving them a head start. You get all this time to cover your tracks. You cannot do that. That should never occur. Constant Springs should have been on this from the start. It's in their jurisdiction. I don't know what happened with that. Then I hear halfway 3, then I hear CTOC, right? There's just too much time lost. Now, on the fusion center issue, even if you don't have a fusion center, have a fusion team within the various areas that act as maybe operating opposition force to question cases. We sit down, you have red team in and you have the blue team. They call it purple team. And you're going to have the red team look at all aspects and attack the case. And then you have the blue team, which is the actual investigating force, defend it. And that's the only way you can train and get your people sharp overnight. If you're going to name somebody as an investigator, then by all means, give them the tools to be able to operate and to understand what it is that is expected of them. They're going to have to learn fast. You have 3 million population, and it seems to me you have inadequate amount of investigators, trained investigators, to cover the cases you have. Case in point, the Patrick Bailey's house. You have a dead man inside the house. I assume you may have had, Bailey has security system. You might have the house under lock and key. If 3 people are inside the house, you have 3 suspects automatically. You don't have no ghosts coming in the house and wiping somebody out. And then you say, well, I don't know. We can't establish what happened. And immediately, regardless of whether or not somebody is sick and they can't attend to an interview, you're going to have to get a search warrant signed by a judge, go in, and you're going to have to do the searches. And you have to start with physical searches to look if there was a fight, if anybody got damaged during the fight. You have to establish a whole host of collection techniques at the scene. And it's got to be done right away, and it's got to be immediate. You have all these cases hanging because it's a high profile. And then you say, well, we are dumbfounded. We can't solve this. Was there an attempt to solve it in the first place? You have to start picking up the slack and start doing police work step by step. There's training done to the senior people sitting up at headquarters. And those senior people should be deployed. It doesn't matter where they're working. If you're at headquarters, it means you're well-versed in the police science. So those people need to be deployed to assist out in the various parishes with investigations that the parishes are having a hard time with.
Mr. Francis, sorry to cut you. I am being told that the press conference is on time. So what we're going to do on Make We Talk, those who are on, you can like, share, and subscribe. After the press conference with the JCF, read the Donaldson's case. We will go live. Based on the press conference, what come out of the press conference, Mr. Rattigan has agreed to come back on with me. I'm pretty much sure Mr. Nelson has agreed. I don't know about Dr. Francis because Dr. Francis
agreed. He must agree. He must agree.
Yes, he must agree. Okay. So what we're going to do, ladies and gentle people, on my Facebook and YouTube page, the press conference for the JCF is at 2 o'clock Jamaica time. That's 3 o'clock our time. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes. So I'm asking you all, like, share, and subscribe. And based on what comes out of the press conference, we will come back on air to speak about it. It's justice for Donna Lee. Justice for Donna Lee Donaldson and her family. Gentlemen, 2 minutes before you go, say what you have to say for 2 minutes and then we wrap up.
Well, let me just say that it's been interesting. And it's been disappointing. It's been interesting in the sense that, Donna Lee's getting the attention that's deserved of this case. But I mean, again, we've already discussed that there are 850 people before her and 8,000 plus before her. But if we're going to start making this a priority, this missing persons and start talking about stuff that Herb is an expert in, human trafficking, human smuggling. This is the case to start with. This is the case. And if they cannot bring the perpetrator to justice, meaning a conviction, an arrest is not good enough for me. An arrest is not good enough for me. They must show the Jamaican public and the world, by extension, that they're capable and they're willing to do what's necessary to address these crimes. Now, again, it's reactive. It's not proactive. I want to see them do more proactive work. Not in this particular area, because I don't know if they could have stopped this crime. But we know that the Jamaican police, by and large, they've been trained to react. They're not being trained to take proactive steps or predictive steps. And the last thing I want to say is this, is that as far as I'm concerned, whether there's a conviction in this, first of all, there must be a conviction in this case for justice to be done and people to be satisfied. And they have to prioritize these cases. And the last thing is this, whether there's a conviction or not, I am firm in the belief that the Minister of National Security must go. Commissioner of Police must go. They have qualified police officers right now who can take over that job and lead, not rule, lead, right? And so that's my position. Conviction and removal. Conviction for the perpetrator of this crime, assuming, because we have to assume that she's no longer with us because it's been 3 weeks and we haven't heard from her, and removal for the Minister of National Security and the police commissioner.
You know why I know that they're joking around? Look at what they did for the traffic. They came up with a law immediately to stop people, to take away people's licenses, and they were very proactive. It happened in no time, overnight, for 1,700 traffic accidents, and they recognized the problem on the road. So you're going to tell me, so after so many years, they couldn't do the same thing for missing persons and crime and murder? They can do it. It's just a question that they do not want to do it, and they have a reason not to do it in many cases. Sorry to say, but it is true. Don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. Say it. Say it, man. Yes. No, I'm not sorry to say that.
Just say I'm sorry to say.
No, meaning that's another one of those terminologies. I should stop using them because you warned me so many times. But the point I'm trying to make is this, that if they can come up and do that thing in such short order and with such alacrity and speed, then why is it not the same thing with crime? You know, because they're sweeping it under the rug. And it's not good enough in 2022. And will never, ever be good enough. We need to face the monster or it's going to face us. Okay? Just like how you cannot tell when a traffic accident is going to happen, you cannot, a bullet is no respecter of persons. So therefore, we must act. And I ask you, good people out there in Jamaica, to make sure that you speak to them and say, the time is now. Let us not get it out and lose another Donaldson and another 850 persons this year. It is terrible, and it should never happen. It's ungodly, to be quite honest with you. So whoever said them go to church every Sunday and I pray for them, what are you praying for? Don't go. Stay home, right? And then go pray to somebody else. But don't pray to God if you don't accept what I have just said, because everybody has a right to life and the pursuit of happiness. You have no right to take somebody's, and if you take their life, you should be willing to forfeit your own. So that man who took those people's lives, let me say it publicly, they should hang him. I don't care who wants to know. Okay, they should hang him, because to show people that he cannot do, not only him. You know, there are three things I want to say. They say that hanging, you can only hang a man if he kill a police, if he kills a politician, and I can't remember the third category. You hear me? Politician and police. Now, why politician? Because they're saving themselves. You understand me? How could you have created a law like that? I can't remember the third component, but this is what I was told. I don't believe it, but I want to investigate it. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody in Jamaica is important. And the children are our future. And our children, you know why? Because they see us in certain categories getting away with so much. And they say enough is enough. We want ours too. So, ladies and gentlemen, take a lesson from that and look after the picnic. Look after the young boys in particular, because I see that they have no manners anymore, they have no respect, and they're totally ill-disciplined, right? And we can't stand up here and say, yes, they could them. No, we have to intervene where we can. We can prevent and we can intervene. And so says the Jamaica Diaspora Crime Intervention and Prevention Task Force. That's how I see it. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Mr. Tavares and my colleagues. Look forward to 3 o'clock. Okay? That's it, sir. Are we there?
Yeah, man, we're there, man. Herbert. No,
let me go ahead. One of the things that I know we'll working on right now has been an infusion that we spoke before the government about the fact that you need team building exercises and various groups to coordinate within communities. Since the church apparently has fell asleep and they are no longer proactive in the community. I only know of one community, Grand Spend, where Reverend Murray has been very proactive. But the church has fallen on hard times. When you have a survey that was done 3 to 5 years ago about who are the predators in your community, and you hear that the top predators in the community are pastors and policemen, that is not a very good result. You have to do something to change that image. And what happened with Donnelly's case right here is doing nothing to change that image. It just brought it to the fore a lot more. People, I've mentioned before in our last broadcast, are fed up of the excuses. No more excuses. Again, you have to be proactive. That means you need our police officers, we need our military people out in communities, being leaders in those communities. Whether you're teaching music, whether you're teaching physical fitness, whether you're teaching football, basketball, or whatever it is, you should be out there leading. And if you're in the community, that means your ear is to the ground. That means you'll hear things before they happen. You get all kinds of information from the community because you're there and you're participating in the community. Just this weekend, in a meeting with the Waterhouse community and minister there, we brought out the fact that teams like Waterhouse football team and in Portmore, the Portmore football team, and all of these teams have to have a relationship with the community other than one where they're just making money and ignore the under 15 and below within the community. You have to establish a relationship with the community. That means you send your players out to be coaches and to promote the game within the community. And this is how you do team building, and you get people concerned for each other because you're team members and you'll show a natural concern. You won't go next door and shoot up the place or to stab up somebody because that's a team member. And if that happens, you're going to speak up on behalf of your team members. If you can promote that closeness within communities and get the churches back leading again instead of having all these predators in your midst, you need to do exactly that. And you need to be leaders once again. And that's my 10-cent piece to that conversation.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Yeah.
We're going to come back here after the press conference with the JCF to speak some more about the Donaldson's case. So I'm asking all my YouTubers, like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. The press conference is at 2 o'clock Jamaica time. That's 3 o'clock US time. As soon as the press conference is finished, we will be back live to speak more about the Donaldson's case. I am Jeffrey Tavares saying thank you all for listening until later on today. You can join us back. Like, share, and subscribe. God bless you. May God bless Jamaica land we love. Dr. Francis, Sir Rattigan, and Sir Nelson. We'll be back here to speak some more. Thank you all very much for coming on.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right.